When we started, the idea, I think, was a continuation of what we had been thinking about and working on, which was really about, forests and equity and communities, all of these ideas built in the way we think about those natural resources that are so important. And when I started Forest Trends, it was really a time when the world was struggling with this idea of what is sustainable forest management. Before us, there had been a lot of unsustainable forest management, clear cutting, all of these things. So it was a really big issue. And there was the spotted owl issue in the Pacific Northwest. So there was a huge issue globally around deforestation. And the idea from Forest Trends was that to solve this problem, we need to bring everybody together that's a part of the issue. And so it's not just environmental groups or activists or ecologists, but we needed to bring together the institutions like the World Bank. We needed to bring together the communities that were in and around these forests, managing these forests, financial institutions, governments, everybody that was a part, that needed to be a part of the solution. So that was the kind of the framing of Forest Trends. That was our theory of change, is if we could get everybody around the table and agree, and find a way forward, that would be the long-term approach. And when Andy came over and Augusta also, we really wanted to focus in on the real missing piece, which was the local communities and their voices. And so we did a report that was really kind of pioneering in that time, which was who owns the world's forests. So it was a state of report, and Forest Trends had done state of reports around different things, and it tracked for the first time on a global basis what we knew about who owned, who managed the world's forests. And that was really the beginning of RI, that thinking, because it became clear that it was a much bigger issue than a little organization like Forest Trends could handle themselves. And we were designed to build these coalitions, so we didn't want to be another big nonprofit organization. So we really reached out to others to try to figure out if there was a strategy that we could build. And in that time, it was people like the Ford Foundation or IUCN or other organizations like that were also interested in this issue, that we kind of invited in to say, okay, we've got who owns the world's forests, what about who are the best managers of the world's forests? And that was, I think, the first product of RI that came out of Forest Trends. But it really, I think, documented in a clear way the voice of communities, the central role of indigenous communities in managing our global forest estate. So that was really, really an important kind of early stage. But what I think was also interesting when I reflect on it was that, when we were starting this, forests and environment were really nowhere on the radar. We were all worried because there was no interest at the global level around these issues of forests and communities at that time. And in spite of that, I think what we can really point to, I think about Arvind, your comment yesterday about, we did it. And I think one of the things we really did was we created momentum in a moment when there was nothing out there. So we built the momentum around it. Climate change was starting to do, so forests were important, but I think the momentum we built was around this idea that communities not only need to be a part of it, but they need to lead the kind of the thinking and the design around how we move forward in these areas. And that was really unusual, because when we started, we were really fighting the battle of saying, how can we get people to pay attention to forests? How can we get people to pay attention to these stewards of the forests? So, we talk about timing is everything, and I think what, to me, the launching of RI in those early days was really about was you can create your own timing. And I think also the kind of the DNA of Forest Trends, what we were trying to do was, again, be this collaborative approach to things. We didn't want to be another large NGO. We wanted to be connective tissue between these different sectors. And not only NGOs, we wanted to get the communities, the governments, the businesses all engaged. And I think that kind of attitude, that kind of approach really welcomed people into the tent. And I think that's why we were able to build something like RI which was unique because, again, it was a coalition. It was not just a coalition, it was a coalition of community organizations globally. So a lot of firsts, if you would, in terms of how this was being built. We had good ideas, and it was a time when there was a need for good ideas. But to have real leadership and clarity around those ideas was what we got from Andy and Augusta and Arvind. That was really unique. And I think it was also kind of a reflection of the lives that we had lived professionally and personally, right? We'd really, all of us had lived around the world. All of us had worked in different kinds of institutions, big, small. And so I think all of that wisdom together allowed us to kind of think about what that path could look like. And also, as I was just saying, it was something that I always reflect on at Forest Trends when I hire people. It's, I want somebody that is willing to be that. It's like setting the table, the Thanksgiving table, and you want to have somebody that welcomes everybody in. So you don't want somebody who needs to have a strong voice or a strong ego around something. It's somebody that can really set that table to bring everybody in. And I think those were the traits of the three of you also that were very strong, that allowed us to create a coalition. Really complicated thing to do. A lot of different opinions, a lot of different histories, and to kind of weave those different interests together into something that was coherent. That's a hard thing to do, and it requires a clear vision, which I think we were able to come up with, and then qualities within the people to be that kind of welcoming figure.